Charles Oliveira fights Islam Makhachev in the main event of UFC 280, and it's for the vacant lightweight belt, which unfortunately Oliveira just lost on the scales in his last fight. Granted, he did follow it up with a dominant destruction of Justin Gaethje, and now he gets, I think, the hardest challenge for himself in Islam Makhachev. When you look at the run of Charles Oliveira, it's been incredible. 11-fight win streak. The last 5 performances is really where I feel the tide has turned, and you've seen this championship Charles Oliveira. He beats Kevin Lee. He submits him. He looks pretty good in that fight. Kevin Lee at that point still had, a bit of hype on his side. Today, Kevin Lee outside of the UFC, no longer that same level. But at that moment, that was still a very quality Kevin Lee win. Oliveira submits him there, and then the momentum starts building. His next fight, they throw him Tony Ferguson, and this is a Ferguson who recently had lost to Justin Gaethje, but was still, not far out from, being scheduled to challenge Khabib Nurmagomedov for the world title. He destroyed Tony Ferguson for 3 rounds, nearly snaps his arm with an armbar that was fully locked. It's just because Tony Ferguson is crazy and doesn't tap. Charles Oliveira looked like the boogeyman in that fight, and probably the most dangerous jiu-jitsu in the lightweight division. It was proved in that matchup. The next fight, he challenges for the vacant belt against Michael Chandler. Michael Chandler, at that point, just 1-0 in the UFC. Back and forth war with Charles Oliveira. That's kind of a trend we've seen in the last 3 with Oliveira. He's getting into wars. His fights are super exciting. He definitely takes damage, and he weathers the storm. And he comes back from adversity each time. He faced a good amount of it against Michael Chandler. He was hurt badly in that first round, and then he knocks Michael Chandler out early in the second round. Fight after that, he takes on Dustin Poirier. He got touched up bad by Poirier a bit. He was dropped, Poirier also being a southpaw, as is Islam Makhachev. And then rear naked choke. Truly, that's the kryptonite of Dustin Poirier. He submits him in the 3rd round. Charles Oliveira gets, I think, a signature win over Dustin Poirier. That was a huge victory for his career because this is a Poirier riding high off 2 wins over Conor McGregor. Next matchup, it's against Justin Gaethje. People regard him as maybe the most exciting fighter, tied up there with Michael Chandler. I'd say their fight was a fucking barn burner, but definitely one of the most dangerous fighters. Vicious low kicks, knockout power, wrestling base. Oliveira dropped in that fight, as he was in the past 2 title fights. He's dropped in all of them. No way Gaethje's following up. He doesn't want to get on top of Oliveira. Oliveira now stands, drops Gaethje, and then chokes him out. It was an incredible performance. That was maybe Charlie Olive's most impressive win, the way he annihilated Justin Gaethje in a round. What Oliveira has proven is he can weather the storm and fight through adversity. If he's dropped, he has that tendency, he falls to his back. Nobody's jumping in his guard. Nobody, for the most part. But now he's thrown Islam Makhachev, a guy, in my opinion, who I think would have confidence on top of Charles Oliveira. I won't be surprised if he's shooting for takedowns here. And if he drops Oliveira with a punch, I am certain he's going to follow it up with ground and pound. You look at the past 5 for Islam Makhachev, beats a very seasoned jiu-jitsu practitioner in Davi Hamosh by a decision. And then he beats Drew Dober, kind of runs through him, submits him with the arm triangle, and looked dominant in that fight. Dober had nothing for him. Continues to move up, fights Thiago Moises. It wasn't a great fight. It was kind of a slow-paced fight. Something about Islam we must note, he's a safety-first fighter. Moises was very standoffish in a sense in that fight. He really didn't want to engage much, and it was obvious, and that's why it went as long as it did. It goes 4 rounds. We got to give Moises some credit for surviving, but he really didn't look like he was ever trying to win the fight. He was just trying not to lose, and then he still got rear naked choked. Follows that up with a absolute mauling of Dan Hooker. Kimura's him in like 2 minutes of the first round. Made Dan Hooker look like he hadn't grappled a day in his life. It looked like black belt versus white belt levels on the ground. And then last fight, short notice, Bobby Green beats the shit out of him. KO, TKO, ground and pound. It wasn't any bit competitive. Green just couldn't deal with the Makhachev top pressure, as most guys won't be able to. So if you look at Islam Makhachev, as far as the actual like ranked contenders go, he doesn't necessarily have that signature win. The best one for him is Dan Hooker. What we do have with Islam Makhachev, though, is tremendously dominant performances. We have the Khabib Nurmagomedov influence. This is Khabib's boy. This is supposed to be the second coming of Dagestan greatness, really, in the lightweight division. And I guess if it wasn't for Khabib, Makhachev would probably need at least one more. But because of Khabib, he gets himself the jump in spot. And I mean, it's not really Makhachev's fault. Nobody wants to fight him. It's not his fault that nobody wants to fight him. He is a scary fighter who a lot of people relate to Khabib. Some that have trained with him say that he's superior to Khabib. I believe Khabib has even said this. Makhachev is a guy that gave Khabib a lot of problems in the training room. With Charles Oliveira and Makhachev, when I look at this fight, a big factor for me that I'm looking at is the fact that Makhachev will not fear the grappling. Second factor, Makhachev is not a brawler. Dustin Poirier is a guy that brawls. Michael Chandler is a guy that brawls. Justin Gaethje is a guy that brawls. Islam Makhachev is going to be more safety first. He'll probably try to let Oliveira come to him. Oliveira could get caught by counter strikes. He could get dropped by a big punch, and then Makhachev's going to follow up. I think that Islam Makhachev will win this fight. His patience is going to do him well in this matchup. Oliveira, in a sense, does better when he has to weather some type of adversity against a guy that's trying to take his head off, whereas Makhachev isn't going that route. If Makhachev kind of did more of a takedown, hold, grappling game for 5 rounds, I wouldn't be overly surprised. Now, I don't necessarily see that as the outcome. I think Makhachev is going to win. I think it's going to be KO TKO. I think it's going to be ground and pound. I think it's going to be somewhere in the 3rd or 4th round. I could see Oliveira gassing out. I think Charles Oliveira will shoot for submissions from the bottom. I think he may even get fairly close to some, but the problem will lie that Makhachev, he's not going to be easy to submit. He's definitely not going to tap. Oliveira will gas from the bottom, shooting for things. Let's say Makhachev shoots that double, and let's say Oliveira locks in a guillotine. I feel as though Makhachev will find a way to fight out of it. I don't think the guillotine at this high level of MMA is the best submission to like bank on as far as, your fighter winning. I could see Oliveira nearly having one and having the position, squeezing for it, arms gassing. Now the lactic acid is built up. Makhachev is going to be even more dangerous on top. And let's say Oliveira is still surviving. We go another round. He shoots for more submissions from the bottom. Can't get him. There's so much resistance from Makhachev, and then it just overwhelms Oliveira, and he breaks him on the ground. Now, I don't want to say Oliveira is breakable. We have seen him lose 8 times, and he has broken in fights in the past. We talk about this being a new Oliveira. I do agree. I love Charles Oliveira. I'm a huge Oliveira fan, but I'm not picking this fight based just on fanhood. I'm picking on who I think's going to win. It's going to be Makhachev. Oliveira has broken in past fights. It could definitely happen here, especially when he's given the resistance that Makhachev does. But you'd be like, no, man. But look at how he fought through Dustin Poirier, Michael Chandler, Justin Gaethje. These are guys looking for striking, and he's going through striking adversity with them, getting touched up with big shots on the feet. Makhachev is going to give him adversity in the grappling positions with Oliveira unable to tap him. Oliveira put in bad spots. Makhachev grinding, heavy on top, suffocating pressure, peppering ground and pound, frustration from Oliveira. Maybe he gets a little over-aggressive on the feet and gets stunned by a big shot. I could see him being frustrated standing up and doing those weird jumping kicks that he likes to do, putting himself out of position and getting caught with an overhand left. Makhachev has a mean overhand left. Oliveira is a bit hittable from that southpaw overhand left stance. A southpaw with a good overhand left can drop Charles Oliveira. A guy with the grappling abilities can follow up, unlike anybody that Charles Oliveira has previously fought. Makhachev, I see him pulling this one out. I'm picking him to win. KO TKO rounds 3 or 4. I think it's going to be a great fight, an incredible performance. If it's Oliveira winning, it has to be earlier, in my opinion. The first 2 rounds. I think the 3rd would even be a stretch. I could see Makhachev winning 3, 4, 5, or a unanimous decision. More ways to win for Islam Makhachev, and that's why I'm riding with my guy here. Now, as far as the betting side of things for this matchup, straight money line odds, Makhachev is -195, Charles Oliveira is +150. I like Islam Makhachev money line at -195. If I had to tell you my favorite bet on it, and I had to throw down money, I'm going to pick betting on Makhachev on the money line at -195. It's a decent enough line, especially for the Dagestan team. I understand hesitancy for even wanting to play this main event because it's an incredible fight, and there's certainly ways for both of them to win. It's not like Oliveira has no shot in this fight. Though I'm picking Makhachev, I gotta acknowledge Charles Oliveira is extremely dangerous and could pull something off against Islam Makhachev. We have seen Makhachev knocked out one time. It was against Adriano Martins. Who's to say Charles Oliveira can't land a perfectly timed punch, drop Makhachev, finish him off maybe with ground and pound, or maybe finish him off with a submission from the top. Not impossible. Let's keep looking at the betting side, though. We'll jump to the overs, over or unders. If I'm going any over under, I think minus 150 over 1.5 is a better play. I see Makhachev starting this fight slow, being patient. I could see this fight getting into that second round, third round. I really do expect it to go at least 3 rounds. On the low side, 3 rounds. I like over 1.5 a lot here at minus 150. I think that's actually a really good play. We're looking towards more of the props. You want to play maybe some type of win method for Makhachev. Safe side is going to be inside of the distance. It's sitting at plus 110 for Islam Makhachev. I actually think that could be a very good play. I think it's highly likely that he does win inside of the distance. I understand it's not juicy value at like plus 300, but high likelihood of success is what I'm looking for here. Now, if you do want to get more into the Hail Mary side, maybe, if Makhachev was to get a KO TKO off on Charles Oliveira, we're sitting at about plus 400. Very wide line. Possible outcome, certainly. I like plus 400 there. If you wanted to maybe go crazy and say, listen, I need to also play Oliveira to hedge myself, what's his most likely method of victory? If Oliveira is to win this fight, inside of the distance for Oliveira, the line is actually pretty good at plus 185, very playable. But Oliveira by submission, I think, would be most likely. If I'm looking at Oliveira winning this fight, I could see him landing a triangle from the bottom position. I mean, I could see him catching a guillotine, but extremely low likelihood. It's not impossible that he would somehow grab an armbar. But realistically, I think the best 2 possibilities of submission would be if he got the back of Makhachev, rear naked choke, or from the bottom, he throws up a triangle. So for that reason, Oliveira at plus 300 to win by submission is not a bad play. Also, if you're on the prop side, maybe you want to hedge your bet on Makhachev, or maybe you're just interested in playing the underdog Oliveira side and you want more plus money, understandably so. Interesting thing, though. I'm picking Makhachev to win inside of the distance. I'm picking him KO TKO, but I have mentioned possibility of decision, so I will read off the decision line for you. It's plus 425 for Islam Makhachev to win a decision. Interesting. He could go a very wrestling-heavy grind game plan and try to avoid any dangerous positions with Charles Oliveira. I don't think he wants to get into a war with Charles Oliveira. I think if they get into a striking match and it's really getting down to it, I would pick Oliveira to win. With the wrestling mixed in, with the clinch mixed in, with Makhachev's patience and not engaging in that type of war is the reason we go Makhachev. I'm picking Islam. I think we got some solid bets to play. The money line's obviously, your safest side, but still some fun props, some decent over-unders, and an incredible fight on Saturday that I think is going to more than deliver. I think we're going to be blessed with an amazing main event and an amazing UFC 280 card. I cannot wait for it. I hope you guys enjoyed this main event breakdown for Charles Oliveira versus Islam Makhachev. Make sure you guys smash that like button if you're new. Subscribe, turn those post notifications on, and make sure to share the video as well. Let me know what you guys think in the comments of the pick. And if you don't have anything to say, you just enjoy the content, as always, drop a W in the chat. Much love, my people. If you're looking to place any bets, you can run over to MyBookie and use my promo code EXPERTS, all capitals. Help your boy out. Shout him out over there. Show some love. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace, everyone.